Weekend. Man, I'm not talking about the game today. We got talent acquisition season upon us. It's a great distraction. I'm so glad it's 4 days after the last game of the regular season when you lose that game. But I'll tell you really quick about how that recovery is going, at least for me. After losing that game, I find myself most pissed off about losing to Auburn. Because, I mean, as much as losing to Texas sucks, as much as the rivalry, the bragging rights, all that stuff is terrible, Texas is a really good football team. Auburn's not. So I find myself, now that we're kind of coming off of that game, most pissed off about that. But I'm glad we have this distraction. I'm glad we have early signing day. The way it works now is it's right after the season. It's early. Sounds like A&M's gotten most of their work done. It's been a rough week for me, guys. As soon as I got home, late at night, I drove to the game, drove back. The next day, I kind of just laid low, kept my mind off of football, recorded that one video that I'm sure a lot of y'all saw. Woke up with a fever on Monday. So I was recovering from the game and from actually being sick, and I'm still recovering from that now. So bear with me if I lack energy tonight. I'm still coming off of that. I don't know if it's COVID or the flu or whatever, but yeah, I lost some serious poundage early this week, and I was probably just sick from watching that game. But anyways, it was a good signing day. Got a lot of good work done. You feel like you got a really well-rounded class, and I want to talk about it today. A very quiet, low-drama signing day, and we've heard a lot from the coaches. We've heard a lot from Elko about how this was just a very easygoing signing day. I think Elko was able to take to the podium by noon because everyone had signed by then, including the two five-star flips, including Jerome Miles, which is a huge grab and a position to need at wide receiver. So we're going to talk about that today. We're going to talk about the portal. Obviously, you've already had some early entries highlighted by Connor Wigman. Today you had Malik Silla, Samu Tamu Amu-Pepe entering the portal. We'll talk about that, talk about some portal needs. It's time to transition to that time of year because the portal opens December 9th, and there's going to be a lot of activity. A&M needs to grab some players. We know this, especially at the receiver room. Probably have to grab several bodies there, maybe end. We'll talk about that all today. And, of course, I want to give you guys a chance to chime in on this time of year because this is a time of year that's very important for a football team. And before we get into all of it, I just want to put out there that I as much as I acknowledge and we know that recruiting is the lifeblood of your program, I think I've gotten to a point where I'm confident in this staff to acquire the appropriate pieces to win football games. Now, I think that's all going to happen, and it has to play out, and it's entertaining to watch. It's great to watch. But I think what's most important for this team in the offseason, come spring, come summer, is further developing that playbook, especially offensively, figuring out how to get the most out of players, especially defensively, where you feel like you had talent that finished the season pretty weak. And I think a really, really big part of this offseason is going to be Marcel Reed's development. Because as much as we know he has raw tools, he has a lot of room to grow. I mean, he has to grow in certain ways. He has to be able to read a defense. He has to be able to keep his eyes up. He has to be able to scan a field. So as much as we're going to enjoy the talent acquisition, I just want to make sure we put out there that it's really important for this staff and, kind of the game day philosophies to continue growing behind the scenes. And that's something we won't really know about until we see it happen next season. It's not something to easily quantify in the offseason. And I think we've gotten to a point where, like I said, we're pretty confident in Elko and this new staff's ability to build a roster because we saw it in the portal last year. This class really well fleshed out. You hit a bunch of areas of need. You got 3 receivers. You got 2 running backs. You got 2 quarterbacks after losing 2 to the portal and then losing out on Longstreet. You're able to fill that room nicely, at least with depth. And it feels like you got depth everywhere. You built this class from the trenches out. I think you got, let me see here. I wrote it down. Like 9 guys that play offensive and defensive line, 10 guys, 4 D-line/edge guys, 6 O-linemen, and that's what you need in the SEC. And I think if there's one position group in this class that I'm most excited about, it's the defensive line haul. I think you got some real SEC bodies and motors in that defensive line haul, and that is the area I want to zoom in a little bit on today with you guys. And then, of course, I want to hear from you guys. We're going to open the call-in link. That's pinned in the chat already. We're going to do the calls before we get into some of these players. I want to look at a couple of tapes with you guys and see if there's anybody else you want to check out. I'm not going to go through everybody tonight. We're going to look at the class overall, and then we're going to zoom in on a couple of players that I've picked out, and then we'll go with a couple that you guys want to look at here in chat. I'll give you guys a chance. But before we do that, Let's say what's up to everybody in the chat. I see all the familiar faces. I see Jeb, who I don't think is going to be around too much tonight. I think he's busy, but good to see you stopping by. Lash, I see you stopping by, man. Very strong of you to come by after that loss. I know how much that loss means to you specifically, Lash. I know it pains you. I know you're hearing some sucking sounds or something weird's going on for you. Best of luck. We're all feeling it, but I think you're feeling it the most. Play to win. Good to see you. Spencer Rojas, I see you had to get that dig, but I also see you complimenting Kyle Field. Kyle Field was electric. It was magical. Too bad we couldn't have the performance to match it. David says, if you had to guess, the remaining portal risks are Chance Johnson, Jared Kerr, Donovan Green, Hunter Erb, Ian I. White, Martrell Harris, Shamar Stewart, Nick Scorton, and Le'Veon Moss NFL draft. I think that's a pretty fair list. I think if there's one I'm going to disagree with on there, I think it's Donovan Green. I think he's pretty gung-ho for the program. I think he has more to show after recovering from that injury. But I think every other name on there, there's a really good chance you're right. That's not bad at all. Noble Guy, I see you in the waiting room. We'll get to you. Sorry, I missed your song request. I'm just seeing that now. Lit Sparks, I see you in the waiting room. Did Play to Win call in a Texags? He's a regular caller there and here. Appreciate you, Play to Win. Appreciate you, Lit Sparks. Y'all know much about the receiver from Tech hopping in the portal. Hudson, sounds like if there's a name in the portal and it's a receiver, A&M's going to make some calls on it. I think that's where A&M is as a program right now. We'll look at it in just a second. Who else is in here? Jay Wynn, good to see you, man. Jackson Johnson, what up, Aggie Nation? Good to see you. Jay Wynn says, I can't wait to see some of the guys in this class and see what we get in the portal. Yep, I know. It's you got to find some pieces. You got to fill some holes. You got to build competition. You got to build depth. I think we saw the effects of lack of depth in a couple of areas this year. I think the running back room was one. I think when Le'Veon Moss goes down, we were in a big shuffle there. Had to, lean on Reuben Owens coming back from injury for a few reps in the biggest game of the year at the time. I mean, it was the biggest game of the year versus Texas. I think corner, you were down to two guys. We found out from Jay Bateman that Javen Thomas had an injury, and you were pretty shallow at corner. You feel like you could probably have some more depth there. I think you want to push some guys in the safety room. I think you want to push some guys in the D-line. I think you want to push guys everywhere because we saw some people just fall short in the end of the year, and you get guys back so they have a chance to improve, but you want to get pieces everywhere, and the portal's about to do that. I think there's some big stuff to come in the portal, but good comment there. Who else is in here? Mike, good to see you. Kyle, good to see you, man. Benzo, Sawyer. Oh, who else? Ben Capatillo, Megalodon Dilly, Chris Cobb. I agree on kicking Dion ass. We're gonna play Dion. Is that what it is? I haven't even looked at bowl scenarios just yet. I'm focused on talent acquisition right now. We're gonna look at the class in just a second. Play to Win's feeling really meh right now. I'm just glad we have this distraction a few days after the game and this early signing day. Malik Barroso, shout out from Idaho. I think I'm the only A&M fan here around a bunch of Bronco and orange blue. That's awesome, man. Hold it down in Idaho for us. Kyle says, being that the Horns are playing the championship, I found a nice margarita to help it pass. Exactly. Need a couple of those probably over the course of the next couple of weeks. I might go live for the SEC championship just to, get a good hate watch going with the chat. We'll see. I've been to many Boise State games this year, and it wouldn't hurt for A&M to look out here. They were close with the Utah commit. Yeah, they got a Utah commit, I think. I'm blanking on names, but the five-star receiver was out of Utah. I will blank on names until they're in the program for a while. That's just how it's going to go. Phil, God blesses us all. Remember, God loves you, and he is given to Jesus to prove he wants you. Amen. I'm kind of scared Reed does not see the field any better going into the next years. I mean, that's kind of what you're faced with right now is his development, right? Because you lost your two experienced quarterbacks. I think there's an argument to add an experienced quarterback into the room to push Reed and to raise the floor of the room. I think we really like the trajectory and the potential of Miles O'Neal, but he's a young guy. Are you comfortable with him as your quarterback too? Maybe, but it'd be nice to get some experience in that room because beyond that, you're looking at true freshmen. So you're going to need a big offseason from Marcel for sure, and you're going to need probably, I would suggest you need a quarterback, at least like a floor raiser in the room. Pour all of our NIL money into receivers, and that's what's going to happen. They're going to be all hands on deck going into receivers for sure. I'll be skipping the meaningless bowl game as well much of the team. I don't know how that's going to go. We'll see. That very much varies team to team. I think there are a lot of players coming back. I don't know if they'll play in the bowl game. We'll have to see how that goes. Bevo's bodyguard, you came back. Welcome back. I see you in here, man. Appreciate you. Deadly Doodles, Moss needs to stay. I think some guys will stay. We'll talk about that too when we get into some of the portal exits and what the roster might shape up looking like in the next few weeks. I'm hyped about the recruiting class. It's a good class, man. It's a really quality class. Like I said, really well fleshed out, really well balanced. Elko talked about building a football team in the class. Got all 11 on offense, all 11 on defense. You really hit your areas of need pretty hard. You got a couple bodies at quarterback, 3 receivers, 2 running backs, bunch of D-line, bunch of O-line. Good stuff. Kelshawn Johnson's the most underrated player in this class. It'd be big. Who else is in here? Aggies need wide receivers like oxygen. Well, we got a big one in the recruiting class. We got to talk about him a little bit because we might need to pump the brakes a little bit on Jerome Miles' day one impact. I'll talk about that in a second. I'm sure some of you guys know about that. Satinia from Arkansas is a great option. I would love to see that as a slot guy. John Peroni in here. Micah Hudson would be a great get. Yep, I agree. I think if there's a primetime receiver out there, Aggies need to at least knock on the door and see what's up with anybody. Raymond Aguilar, good to see you. Yes, we have a young kicker, says Malik Barroso. We need a big-time speedy receiver. Yeah, and Satenia might be a good option there. All right. Guys, if y'all want to drop your favorite commit in the class, that'd be fun to do in the chat. We'll read that in just a second. For now, let's just briefly look at the class overall. I have it divided by position, and something Elko said over and over again is that one of the goals in this class was to sign a football team, like I was just mentioning. He hit every position. And I think we've seen our fair share of imbalanced recruiting classes over the last couple of years. Say what you will about that. You can get by doing that. But Elko's strategy was to hit every position group. And he did just that. You can see right here, Brady Hart, Eli Marcos. Eli Marcos will sign as a preferred walk-on, but he is a 3-star recruit. I'm sure he will get taken care of as if he's a scholarship player via NIL. But you lost Longstreet, and you filled it in with 2 quality guys. Brady Hart, obviously undersized, but he has great arm talent, great height, great length. He's also a year young. He's an early classifier. He has room to grow, and he has time because you're not going to be relying on him early on. You got Marcel, you have O'Neal, and you're going to need to probably get I think you guys would agree that we probably need a portal quarterback to push Reed and to raise the floor of this room because you're really young beyond your top 2. Even your backup's going to be really young as is. But then you got 2 running backs, DeAndre Ridden, and way down here, he's listed as an athlete, and Jamarian Morrow from Tennessee. He was a late addition, but he is going to play running back here. He will be able to, split out wide, receive some passes, be a versatile guy at running back. You hit receiver hard. Jerome Miles, the late 5-star addition, big body. All 3 of these receivers are track guys. They can all run. That was a clear emphasis in this receiver haul, was to get guys that can run, guys with speed, explosiveness. You didn't have that in the receiver room this last year. You had some possession guys, you had some big guys, and then you brought in some smaller guys with some agility in the portal, but you really didn't have any game breakers, and it seemed like that was a priority this class. And these 3 guys and Ashton Bethel Roman, who we saw a little bit versus New Mexico State, I think those are guys with speed that the future of this receiver room can kind of lean on. We're obviously left needing some guys for the now. I think Jerome Miles can be a day one impact guy depending on his recovery. If you guys don't know, Jerome Miles is coming off of a knee injury that held him to, I think, only 2 games his senior year. His junior year, he only played 6 games due to an ankle injury. So he has all the tools in the world. He has the size, he has the speed, he has the ball skills. He's a day one impact build, but coming off the knee injury, I would pump the brakes on hoping that he's a down-to-down guy versus Notre Dame. I think as the weeks go on in the season, he can build into that, and I think we might need him to build into that, which just heightens the urgency of getting guys in the portal at receiver. We'll look at the options there in just a second. But it's a huge get. Something this room desperately needed was receiver talent, and you got that in him. Got him from USC. You traded Longstreet for Miles, basically, and you currently have his high school quarterback, Helaman Kasuga, committed in the 2026 class, and this bodes well for holding on to him. Let's go through. Keody Armstrong, huge tight end, big body, big athlete, big get. I mean, everybody wanted this tight end. It's awesome to get him in the room. Obviously, Colin Klein's going to use his tight ends. He's going to use 2 or 3 per game. He used 3 per game this year with Calhoun, Watson, and Theo. And you just lost Platt to the portal. Obviously, holding on to Keody was huge. You got 6 offensive linemen, 3 of which were offensive tackles. Always a tough market to get tackles, and you got 3 in one class. You had a big offensive line haul in the last class that was only a 17-player class. I think you had 3 or 4 in that class. So this offensive line room was obviously a major emphasis of Elko's going into this program, because when he took over, I mean, it was apparent that that was one of the biggest weaknesses of the team, and he hit it hard. And Getting Lamont Rogers to flip from Missouri, kind of, I mean, it's been several weeks in the making, but for it to happen kind of the days before signing day was huge. Get pen to paper. You got your work done. Again, Elko feels like this class is done. It feels like the rest of the talent acquisition will happen through the portal. Nelson McGuire is a guy that I could see having major early impact too, and I think he's acknowledged that maybe Marcus Garcia, some of these other guys might be more projects, but I would look at Nelson McGuire and Lamont with guys with earlier paths to playing time. Anything can happen, though. I haven't done a deep dive into all these. I suppose I should tell you how I approach recruiting. I'm not an insider. I'm not a guy that talks to recruits. I'm a guy that reacts to the classes after they're signed, and we'll be doing that together. Like I said today, I'll pick 2 players for us to kind of do a deep dive into. I already have them picked out in my head. I'll tell you who they are in just a second, and then I'll take some recommendations from you guys. We'll look at their films as well tonight, a couple other guys. So we'll look at about 3-4 guys tonight. But rounding out the class, like I said, I think the strongest position you hit this class with sheer talent, sheer size, sheer SEC readiness is the D-line haul, including Marco Jones, who kind of played outside linebacker, but he projects as an edge rusher at the college level. 6'5", 240, crazy stats, baseball player. I mean, this guy's going to be a monster. I don't know about year one impact because, I mean, maybe. It's a really big-time guy to get out of California. But I'm particularly excited about these two. And Landon Rink's awesome. He was one of the earliest, if not the first commit in this class, stuck through it to the end, was a hype man for this class, was largely kind of like the Bobby Taylor of this class, hyping everybody up through social media was Landon Rink. You appreciate him for that. Great motor, extremely strong, freak athlete for D-line. But in terms of day one SEC readiness, DJ Sanders and Chase Sims. I don't know if you guys agree with me there, but if I look at people on this class to make a day one impact, at least in a rotational role, maybe a third string role, it would be DJ Sanders or Chase Sims. And those are the 2 guys that I want to do a deep dive into today, look at their film, look at a couple of write-ups on them, a couple of articles about them, and get a little bit more insight on these 2 guys. Because they're 2 really important players that I think forms the baseline of what you need when you're building an SEC roster, is these Goliath interior guys that can move bodies. In DJ Sanders' case, he has the size, but it's his footwork, it's his length, it's his twitch from the interior with elite size. He's a rare breed right here in DJ Sanders. And then Chase Sims, great motor, squattier guy, can project as a nose. I don't know if you've really gotten a high impact nose in a recruiting class with this squatty, kind of sturdy, heavy build since McKinley Jackson. He's not as big as McKinley, but I mean, he's 305. He might be bigger by now. This is like early high school measurements, I believe. At 6'2.5", he rose about, I think, 500 spots in his national rating this last week. I think he was a very late bloomer in terms of the nation catching on to what Chase Sims is and can be. And I just really think these 2 guys are huge, and we'll look at them in a second. Mikhail's a huge linebacker that the staff is just, gleeful about. They project him as one of the best linebackers available in the country, and of course they're going to speak highly of them once they acquire them, but I think the tape shows with Noah. He's been a guy that, has been on campus recently and shows a lot of leadership qualities. I think we're going to be happy with him, and Kelvin Riggins, obviously. These are really, really good pieces you've gotten, even if they're not rating in, what we've seen in the past with the linebacker at the 3-star. It's fine. I think some of these guys are really, really well evaluated, especially when you're looking at the D-line. But just rounding it out, you got your DBs, you got your corners. We'll do deep dives into all these guys. I haven't done a deep dive into the DBs or corners. Let's zoom in to these 2 guys right here. But first, let's check in with the chat. All right, let's see whose people's favorites are. Jerome Miles, of course, play to win. We're going to go Jerome Miles as his favorite. It's such a good pick. It's such an important piece. Kind of wanted to hang on to Scylla, says Nathan. Yeah, we'll talk about that in just a second. We'll get into the portal guys in just a second. Jerome Miles for Noah 2 Wavy. Rink, I love it. Rink is an energy guy, man. I'm excited about him. And Bateman said, early impact guy? I don't know, man. We'll see. It's tough to be early impact interior in the SEC, but we'll see. It's a huge get. I love Landon Rink, man. He's a very high motor, high energy freak athlete. Jamarian Morrow, great late addition for sure. Kelvin Riggins, awesome pick, man. One of the commits from California is going to be playing baseball in the spring too. Yeah, that'll be Marco Jones. Marco Jones, the edge guy. Yep, he will be playing baseball. Ridden at running back, great pick. Rinker Miles, yep, absolutely. DJ Sanders could be a huge, yeah, exactly what I'm saying. I think Sanders and Sims, both D tackles, could be day one impact guys, but not obviously not starters, but just rotational guys, probably in a position of need right now. Morrow's a big time, yeah. I'm really happy getting the two of them. Notre Dame isn't our first game next year. It isn't our first game? Okay, it might be our second game. DeAndre Ridden, the running back out of DeSoto, is my favorite pickup since he's their all-time leading rusher. Absolutely. That's an impressive with all the running back talent that has come out of DeSoto. Absolutely. It's huge. I see A&M is dropped 6'6", 248, moves so good. Flu going around San Antonio Crazy. I have something. I don't know what it is. I'm an outsider. I am an outsider, but I look inside. Not a jock sniffer. I'm not. I'm never going to be making calls. It's just not what I want to do. Kelshawn Johnson, man, I'm telling you. Yeah. I can't wait to get into the film, guys. Like I said, I haven't gotten into all the film yet. I've watched maybe half of these guys' film. If that, we're going to do that together. I'm excited to do it. Texas went, yeah, and I heard the Sanders battle went down to signing day. Went down to the table pretty much with Sanders. I'm sure the same could be said for Sims. Sims is a guy that a lot of people caught on to late, but Texas, I think, was in that battle the whole time. Jamarian Morrow. Everybody's hyped on Morrow. I can't wait to look at his film. DJ Sanders, Rinker Miles. Yeah. Notre Dame's third game? Okay. I like the commit we got from Shadow Creek High School. We need Perkins. You talking Harold? Who are you talking with Perkins? Maybe. All right. I am actually going to take a couple of calls before we get into the film. Lit Sparks and Noble Guy, we'll do you first, and we'll get into Lash and Play to Win a little bit later because I want to get the film. We'll kind of break the calls up throughout the show tonight, and then we'll call it a show after we get to the film and the rest of the calls. Lit Sparks, you're on with Drew. How you feeling, my friend?
Howdy. I'm doing well. This is my first call, so glad to make it towards the end.
yeah, man. I love to get the first time callers. Where you want to go with it? You want to talk about the class?
Yeah, I think first off, I wanted to just kind of give a shout out on Play to Win. I think I heard him on Texags, and it was a good thing to just remind the guys on how the season went. Though it didn't go, it feels harder than it was. Just to think this was Elko's first year, it was exciting to see what this could go. I think then the commitment that we got from this class, it's exciting. Of course, that as an Aggie, I've also dealt with battered Aggie syndrome, so we'll see what it goes, but I'm excited with what we've got because it's better than nothing.
Yeah, it's a really
scraps.
Yeah, exactly. And you make a really good point about the staff and how this is an encouraging sign. Of course, you have to acquire talent, but I think with this being kind of the first full cycle the coaching staff got, it kind of served as a litmus test to see what their high school recruiting chops were. And I think with the way they closed and the way that they just got everybody to sign the morning of, I think that's a very, very strong indicator going forward that this staff can acquire talent at a high level. And it really, so far, has not been much of a drop-off from what Jimbo did really well, and that was acquiring talent, because you also have to factor in that Elko's using the hell out of the portal, and that's about to go down in about a week or so, over a month or so, but starting in a week or so. And I think it bodes really, really well. And yeah, of course, we're not thrilled with how the season ended, but I think there are some positive signs to follow.
Yeah, no, I just think with how they did, it didn't seem like we were so focused. I like the spread approach.
Yeah.
Just because you're going to have so many guys that you're going to also be able to look at the portal. And I think having the commits happen before the portal happened, that was good.
Absolutely.
But I think with the scheduling, it's going to put pressure on playoff teams.
Yeah.
Because they don't have as much time to look at it as teams that are their seasons could put.
Yeah, absolutely. For teams whose seasons are largely over, I mean, you have a bowl game coming up, but what is that? But this lines up really nicely for the non-playoff teams. I mean, you, of course, prefer to be in the playoff, but yeah, I would imagine they're drinking through a fire hose if you're a playoff team right now, and that's why these staffs have grown. That's why you have a general manager and a whole recruiting support staff now, because these coaches, they got their hands full, because you got some coaches dealing with this, and then like championship games, playoff coming right up. But yeah, it lines up nicely for us.
Yeah, so I thought it was good. That last game, I was there. It started strong.
Yeah.
Downside is offense couldn't get as much of a sound from the crowd. But when that pick six happened, man, there was hope. Like that uproar. I think that was one thing I liked is the defense kept fighting.
Yeah.
Because some teams would probably just be kaput at 17-0.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, it started really loud. I mean, their first couple offensive possessions were as loud as I've heard Kyle Field. And then obviously the team didn't really give them, especially the offense, didn't really give them a reason to erupt for quite a while. And then, like you said, the big defensive plays did give them a reason. It was a great Kyle Field atmosphere. You wish you would have won the game.
Yep. What more can you do?
Yeah, exactly. You got to just keep acquiring, keep pushing. But I think it's also up to, like I said at the beginning of the show, staff to grow, self-reflect, grow the playbook, figure out how to utilize players better, all that stuff. But anyway, transitioning into the class, I mean, any favorites, any key takeaways from this class?
Yeah, I like that running back. I think, is it Ridden?
Yeah,
Ryden?
Ridden.
Yeah,
I don't know how to say
liked,
it. We're going to go with Ridden for now. It might be Ryden.
Yeah, I'm probably going to butcher so many of these names for a while.
Same, yeah.
So they're in the class.
Mm-hmm.
But I liked just the film he had. It was wild what lines he could break. I'm not sure if that's going to be, I mean, this is high school football, not SEC, but if he can break, it'll be fun to watch.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And obviously, you needed bodies in that room. I mean, we don't know what's going to happen with Moss. We don't know what's going to happen. Obviously, the portal's a factor. I think you're going to lose E.J. Smith. I mean, that's just depth you're losing. And you added him and you added another guy late in Morrow. So it's huge to get him. It's a guy that, in a year like this would have played. If you had a freshman like this, he would have played this year. So it's really important to get him and to get him to stick through to the end. I think he was a pretty early commit, too.
And then did we flip two Missouri Missouri commits? Because I know
Yes.
Rogers won, but I mean it's kind of wild for their season they've had, and then for us to just flip two, that's a positive sign. Something good about us, I guess, in the right way.
Yeah, I mean, getting the 2 5-star kind of flips right before signing day is huge, and that's what the good closers do, and they showed that they were capable of doing that. So that was very, very encouraging. Because Jerome Miles is the same situation with USC. You got him to shut things down. Obviously, there were rumblings of him extending his recruitment through the second signing day, and you got him to shut that down. That was big time.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting on that QB we got last minute after Longstreet decommit, just what that locker room's going to look like amongst the QBs, because it looks pretty young, unlike what we had this year where you had seasoned veterans, but it'll be interesting.
Yeah, it'll be very interesting. All right, any closing thoughts, Lit Sparks? Appreciate you calling in, man.
Yeah, well, thanks for doing this. It's been fun. I'm not sure if football was all you did, but I'll be excited to see where the season goes and just what's more to come for your channel.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we'll definitely do some baseball stuff as football kind of dies down. We'll add some basketball stuff into it. We'll do some watch parties. I did a watch party for basketball the opening day, and we'll get into more of that as the season goes on. But yeah, man, I appreciate the support.
All right, well, y'all have a good one, and I'm excited to hear the rest of the show.
Thanks, man. Have a good night.
You too.
Bye. All right, let's get Noble on, then we'll get into the film for a couple of D tackles in the class. Noble guy, how you feeling, man?
What's up, Drew? What's up, everybody in the chat? I think not as dead as I did after Saturday night.
Were you a total corpse Sunday morning?
Oh God, it was. What I did, I kind of delayed. The 8 stages of grief, whatever it is, where you're in denial for a long time, because after the game, this is why I wanted to be in College Station, was because I at least could be surrounded by my friends and my fellow Aggies who in the same boat as I am. So I went out to the chicken in the Northgate and whatnot, and had a beer, and you gotta just hang out and not have to think about the game for a while. But then it's the drive home and the silence in your head that's drives you up a wall.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
And then you're just stuck with your own thoughts, and it's like, hello, darkness, my old friend.
Exactly. Yeah, I had to drive straight home because I had a 3-hour drive. Yeah, I had a 3-hour drive. I went straight to the truck. As soon as the game ended, I walked to the truck. Long walk, long drive. But I think I got most of my reflecting done on that. I think I rebounded pretty well, and then we were able to quickly flip the script thanks to signing day. So, yeah, man.
Signing day helped.
Once we got to halftime, we were down 17-0 against that team that's really good. I figured
we couldn't play behind. They did everything that I said we shouldn't do.
I know.
I was like, please don't play from behind. Please stay in the game.
I know, dude. And the thing that sucked was you had such a good opening drive, didn't get points.
Oh gosh.
You got a 3-and-out, threw an interception. It's like you had opportunities to start fast, and then once again, you found yourself in a hole to start a game. I think the last 3 SEC games, you started with a multi-score to 0 deficit, and that's just really hard to overcome.
It was like 52-0 in the last month of SEC games in the first quarter. So that's a pretty abysmal. Did you want to go over? I mean, we don't have to go over the game now if it's still too soon, or we can punt that and go over.
If you want to do a few quick thoughts on the game, that's fine. You can take wherever you want to go, and then we'll just wrap it up at the end with the recruiting talk.
Yeah, I'll just touch on it lightly. We'll go over it another time. It's still a little fresh. I guess surprising was that we got absolutely whipped at the point of attack physically. That didn't see that happening.
Yeah.
So that sucks. And then I don't know. The 4th and 1 decisions are obviously everyone's going to question that. I think the first one you take the points. The second and this is me on the sidelines. I don't know anything.
Yeah, hindsight's 2020,
the
but
second
yeah.
one I was okay with, though, to be honest. And like a lot of people criticize that. I get it. Like you're at the goal line in a game where you don't know the next time you'll be at the goal line, and you still need a field goal to tie it up anyways. I won't question the second 4th and 1. It was just our inability to move the ball at the end of the day.
Yeah, we were getting whipped at the line of scrimmage. I was surprised to see them just try, what was it, 3 inside runs in a row, something you knew wasn't working at that point in the game. And I agree with you. I was okay with that 4th and 1 try. I mean, there's no guarantee you're back in that spot in regulation. So might as well get the points while you're there. You couldn't get them. You wish the play call would have been a little bit more, give you some more options. But yeah, that is what it is. And I agree. The first 4th down conversion, look, I get it. You get it. You feel really good. I don't think at that point in the game you really know that you're getting whipped on the night just yet, so they wanted to try it.
Oh, yeah.
But when you have such a good opening drive, you're at home, the crowd's alive, I think you get points. I think it's a chip shot for our field goal kicker. I think it's a really high percentage play. I think if you're backed up at like the 35 and it's a 4th and 1, then you go for it because it's not as guaranteed it's not like a guarantee 3 like that one would have been. I think that's the big difference there. But yeah. Hindsight.
And I'll say this: I think that was the best Texas played all season, which I guess is an honor more or less, which kind of sucks because they didn't look that good against anyone else or even Georgia or
Well, their running game had been trending in the right direction, and it showed against us. And to me, that was the the Josh Pate padlock was the running numbers, the yards per carry, 5.6 for Wisner, 1.6 for Daniels. I think that was the game right there, and they had been trending in the right direction, and that just the floodgates opened against us because they out-physicaled us at the line of scrimmage. And then, man, I mean, they had wrinkles ready for us. The arch in the red zone package was something we hadn't seen all year, and they threw that at us, and it worked. So, yeah, man.
Yeah.
It happened. It sucked.
I know. Yeah. There's plenty more stuff to go at another time, but as far as that it just sucks going like you said, the Auburn game really it was like the absolute thorn in our foot right now because losing Texas is one thing. They look like I hate to say it, but Josh Pate said it and other people have said it. They look like prime Alabama right now. Frankly, if you're Texas, you should be contending for a championship every year. I'm gonna wish ill upon them, and then hey, if you don't win a natty, your season's a bust. I'm gonna say it now.
Yeah.
And I'm going to wish you all the ill will in the world. But y'all kicked our ass, and we just got to own that. Thank God we do play this every year, though, because, it's not like we have to wait another 13 years for the next one. And then I'll say moving forward, obviously Elko's the kind of guy who wants to go for it on 4th and 1. And we hated it this year because it just didn't work out. But, you can't judge a decision based on its results. Necessarily next year or whatever year moving forward that we happen to have the personnel that can get those 4th and 1s, everyone will love it. I mean, we did it early in the year when we had a healthier O-line and running back, so no one complained back then. So
true. Yeah. And I think Elko's vision for the program is a team that can get a yard at will. And like you were saying,
Campbell Campbell does this all the time.
Exactly. Yeah. I'll be there at DKR next year. I'll do everything I can to be at that game. And
good. Yeah, no.
I'm gonna flip the script on him. I will say the Longhorns around me and my section of Kyle Field at the game, they weren't that bad. Even though a couple of young ones were drunk, they were actually pretty respectful. So I got to give them credit for that. They weren't shitheads. Like you never know. You never know what you're gonna get. So It wasn't bad, but I will be a shithead when I go there.
Yeah, I low
I'm
key
just
wanted.
kidding. No, I won't.
Oh, so Sark didn't let his players celebrate on the field, which to his credit, I'll give him that. I do wish they had though, just to give us fuel for next year. I was like, come on, give me that bulletin board material.
Wait, what?
I want you to dance on our ashes
Oh,
and get us now while we're still low.
yeah, I know. They kind of did until he got in there.
Yeah, I mean, like, well, I don't know. They have a lot of seniors on their team. I mean, obviously they'll recruit well every year. So we're just gonna have to build up to it. Like it was a lot to expect to. The Texas became a must win because you lost to Auburn. I think a lot of Aggie fans would have been a lot more like, okay, we lost to, a really good program in year one.
Well, you know what would have
Just
happened,
losing
and
to
I
Auburn
hate to
sucks.
talk about this. Like, if you beat Auburn, you're playing Texas again this weekend.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, so I don't know if
I don't know.
I don't think everybody realize. I think a lot of people realize it, but some don't. You win any of
I
those
forgot
last
about
three
that.
games, you're playing for the SEC championship this weekend, no matter what happens versus Texas. If you would have beaten Texas, it would have been versus Georgia. If you would have lost to Texas, it would have been versus Texas again because you would have
What do
been.
you think would have happened? The way I saw we played on Saturday was like they brought their A game. And I don't know exactly what we put on the field, but like there's not a, if you play that game 100 times, we're not winning
No,
a lot of those that way.
it would have been nice to have a title visit to have a chance, though. But yeah, I know.
Yeah, absolutely. Give me the conference championship appearance anytime because it sucks that
Yeah,
we haven't made it yet.
yeah. It was so
We're
close.
just gonna have to work up for it.
Yeah. Anyway, all right. Transitioning to the talent
Yeah.
acquired. I mean, what are some highlights from the class? What is your general feel about the class? Where are you at with it?
I think it's a good foundation class because they, like you said, built a whole team in the recruiting class. I went back a few days ago and just kind of looked at our previous classes. You got to remember, like in reality, like out of every class which has about 20 to 25 signees, about really 5 of them are impact players. The rest are like key depth pieces. Don't get me wrong, but like you can't expect like and especially early on, you can't expect anything too flashy. You're gonna need portal players to fill in the ranks for next year and try to get these guys developed. And hopefully, this is a situation where like I want like say like Lamont Rogers to be like our version of Kelvin Banks. I want what's his name blanking on Jerome Miles. Like I don't think he's gonna be like you said like day one impact player, but I want him to be like something we haven't seen in a long time. Wide receiver one
Yeah.
who's been with us for 3+ years, or 3 years. We haven't seen that in a while either. We got great pieces all across the board. I just want to see what hits and what we can develop because if I think Elko is the kind of guy who gets as much juice out of his players as he can. So curious to see about the development.
Yeah.
I'm just it kind of goes back to this year. I want to because some of the development on the players wasn't as good as I thought it would be. At least in the secondary, in my opinion. I'm hoping that changes. Year 1 to year 2. So and then I'm curious to see what he can do with a whole year with brand new players. That kind of thing.
Yeah, I'm excited to see what the staff kind of, can create for these guys. Obviously, play calling's going to have to evolve, and the way you utilize guys, learning personnel, development, off-season work. I mean, another season of Tommy Moffitt. It's going to be big. It's going to be big. You got to give these guys a second year and see really get the full picture of what it wants to be for sure. But all right, man. Any other closing thoughts on the class?
No, let's just see what happens. I think you got to give these guys time to develop. I'm really excited to see what Terry Bussey does in the off season and to next year.
Yeah.
And then one last thing for Aggie fans is like, hey, I get it where it sucks to lose, especially those guys. Just reminder that our words are recorded on the internet, so there's a perception that we want about ourselves. Like, you can say whatever you want in person to another. Because I said a lot of things on Saturday night that that you're in the heat of the moment kind of things. But it's important to police yourself and your words because the internet remembers everything, and we don't want to look like a bunch of sore losers at the end of the day. It sucks to lose, acknowledge that, but hey, we love our Ags and we're gonna keep rooting for them no matter what. And great work, Drew. We're always gonna be here. Now I gotta go watch the fighting Dan Campbell's win this game.
Amen. Enjoy it, man. Thanks for the call, Noble. Later.
Absolutely. Y'all have a good one. Peace out.
Great couple of calls. We'll finish out the calls later in the show. Right now, I want to zoom in on a couple of my favorite and I think most impactful recruits we got, and that's centered around the D-line. If y'all heard me early in the show, I think my favorite position group haul in the class was the D-line haul. Marco Jones, DJ Sanders, Chase Sims, Landon Rink. And to Noble's point he just made, nothing's guaranteed in high school recruiting. Every player you get is an opportunity for them and for your staff to develop them into an impactful player. And I think this D-line haul gives you a really good chance with all 4 players. And I think 2 in particular have a really high chance of day 1, year 1 anyways, impact in DJ Sanders and Chase Sims. Let's start with DJ Sanders here. Let me see if I can get my ducks in a row. All right. 6'4", 290. I think he's up to 305 now, out of Belleville, Texas. 4-star composite player. Offers from Texas, Michigan, Bama, Auburn. Obviously, everybody wanted this guy, and the recruiting battle with Texas went down to the signing table, it sounds like. I'll read you his scouting report, and then we'll look at his high school tape. A disruptive force with unverified burly frame. Unverified? Is it unverified? I think it's pretty verified. But anyway, burly frame, hovering around 6'4", 290 pounds. Primarily plays defensive end in a 4-man front at the high school level, but will slide into the interior defensive line at the next level. One of the stronger defensive linemen at the point of attack in the 2025 recruiting cycle, routinely sacks and sheds opposing offensive linemen with ease. Nimble play style and smooth gait, show up frequently while rushing the passer, and offer significant long-term value. Finished his junior season with multiple defensive touchdowns on fumble recoveries and interceptions. Possesses a multi-sport profile with promising varsity basketball reps, which offer insight into his hip and ankle flexibility. Will need to keep progressing, but has shown plenty so far to eventually emerge as a difference maker at the P5 level and eventually an NFL draft pick. Yeah, man, this guy's junior tape is insane. Let's look at his on-3 write-up really quick. I want to read them both because I really like these scouting reports just to get a feel for the player. Belleville High School coach Grady Rowe says DJ Sanders has limitless upside. First off, his athletic ability. Everybody sees that, Rowe told Rivals.com. He's 6'3", 315. There it is, 315 now. But he's light on his feet, can move. That's the first thing that sticks out, that he can move, he can bend. He's just so athletic, and he's explosive at the same time. You don't see a lot of 300-pounders that can move like he can move. But Rose said Sanders is more than just a good athlete. He's a great kid, number 1. He's not a big-time talker. He doesn't take it for granted. He's not one I have to worry about getting a big head. A lot of times when you hear 4- and 5-star guys, you worry about them getting a big head, not play for the team. That's the furthest thing from him. That's just not him. He's a good kid. As a junior in high school, Sanders was a first-team all-district performer in football and basketball, along with a regional qualifier in shot put. A lot of colleagues came through last year. Colleges came through last year, saw him playing basketball, and said that's a no-brainer, coach. You don't see many 300-pounders that can get up and dunk, bounce around like that, Rowe said. Yeah, Coach Spencer today said he's a big boy with little ankles and he can move. I mean, a big boy with little ankles, yeah, that's a basketball player for you right there. Let's take a look at his tape. I mean, we've watched his tape on this channel before. This is one of the guys that we've actually watched before. But his athleticism, his speed, it's just insane to see him get through these lines and just run around. This is the one where he just takes the ball out of the hands of the defender, runs it back for a touchdown. So they move him all around the D-line. Obviously projects as a D tackle at this level. There's a strip sack. I mean, the smaller bodies. He's going to dominate in high school with his measurables, obviously. I think he had 86 tackles his junior year, like 17 sacks. Here's making a play, 15 yards past the line of scrimmage. Another just give me the ball, run for a touchdown situation. I mean, yeah, just stonewalling guys, standing them up. I mean, the length is going to get bodies off of him if he can develop the strength. I mean, when you have length like this, obviously power and strength becomes more of a priority for them to gain when they get to college. But he's huge, man. He's an athlete. I mean, yeah, that's just not going to cut it. Yeah. Just very active, very athletic, dancing around out there. Yeah. D tackle rep, just standing guys up, just standing smaller guys up. I feel like we've had like 5 highlights against this number 70 offensive tackle. Yeah, just ate the screenplay up. We need guys good against screens. See, he can play through getting held. You're not going to get called for that here, so that's fine. That's good. Yeah, I mean, obviously the length stands out. The ability to get bodies off of him. The use of the hands, the athleticism. I don't know. Do you guys see day one impact here? This is a junior tape. Obviously, he's bigger now. This is a 290-pounder here. He's 315 now. I think this guy could be a candidate. Yeah. Yep, again, just the length, the ability to get bodies off of him is huge. Gives you flexibility as a tackler. Gives you the ability to cover both rushing lanes. And this apparently was a guy that was at maybe the toughest battle of the guys that were previously committed. And you held on to him. Huge. That's the last play. One of my favorites in this class. And I think he's one of yours as well. I think a lot of people agree with that. All right. The other one I want to highlight with you guys. Chase Sims. All right. I think if you want to look at what Chase Sims has kind of been through his recruitment, you look at his previous ratings. I mean, look at this jump right here. I mean, this was just this month. Someone that the nation didn't catch on to until recently. And, I mean, this is the pre-required build that you need in the SEC to compete. You need these D tackles. This is like a 6'2.5", 6'3". I mean, I think you could be looking at your 2 D tackles of the future in these two guys. But there's no write-up here because you don't have a scouting report if you're one of the undervalued guys nationally. So I had to kind of dig to find a good scouting report. Let's see if I can find it. All right, yeah, here we go. This is from Defender, defendernetwork.com. Thank you for the write-up. As the 2024 high school football season heats up, one name is causing opposing quarterbacks sleepless nights. Chase Sims. The Richmond Randall High School senior is more than just a player. He's a force to be reckoned with, standing 6'3" and weighing 290. Sims has established himself as one of the premier defensive tackles in the region, earning a reputation as a quarterback's worst nightmare. Getting to the quarterback is my job. I love doing my 1 of 11. I love this team, and I'm going to do every down for them. I'm going to go hard every down for them, says Sims. A 3-year varsity letterman and a 2-time first-team All-District. Sims' performance on the field speaks for itself. Last season, he terrorized offensive lines with 23 solo tackles, 63 assisted, 11 sacks, 11 hurries. His relentless pursuit and sheer power on the defensive line have drawn comparisons to former NFL greats like Warren Sapp and current stars such as Dexter Lawrence of the New York Giants and Ed Oliver, who was a high school standout at Westfield in Spring, Texas before making his way to the NFL. All right, let's take a look at the film. I have not watched his film yet. I've just heard these coaches rave about him, saying that they found this guy early, they got on him early, and they hit him hard early because they knew as soon as people caught wind of him, he'd be tough to hold on to if they got into battles. So they got him early, and they were able to hold on to him. And this is a guy they had to fight off, I think, Texas at the last minute to hang on to. Let's check out Chase Sims. And this is my first time watching with you guys. I had seen DJ Sanders before. 86 tackles, 11 sacks, 18 tackles for loss. There he is, number 50-something. All right, that's just beating somebody before he even makes contact, getting the safety, just throwing a guy down. Yeah, that's an SEC prospect playing high school football. All right, just eating the quarterback draw. If that even was a draw, it could have just been a full destruction by the D-line. Fighting through, forcing the INT. Nice. All right, all right. Yep. That's a little offensive line. Of course he's going to run right through it. Yeah, he just beat him off the line of scrimmage and sacked the quarterback. Yeah, great hips, great lateral movement. Just a lot of these highlights for him beating offensive linemen before contact is made. All right, this is a hustle play. Didn't make the play initially, but stuck with it. You got to have the motor, obviously. Yeah. Stand the guy up. Make the play. If you get the O lineman standing straight up, you're going to win every time. Low man with hands wins. Disregarding. Nice. Yep. Watch a couple more plays. All right, I love seeing D tackles making plays off the line of scrimmage. Be the last play right here. Yeah. Well, we'll see how they stack up once the competition heightens. But obviously, these guys give you everything you want coming out of high school at this position: size, motor, athleticism, technique, hands, feet. I'm thrilled with this D-line haul, and let's see what the chat is saying before we get into more calls. Actually, we got to look at the portal real quick, then we'll get into some calls. I want to look at some portal stuff. Do we have any backups on the D-line that have Scorton, Stewart size at defensive end? It seems like most of our other edges are like 240, 260. I don't think so. I think you can go really young and look at like a Kendall Jackson, a Dalen Evans, but who knows where those guys are? Who knows if they're going to be ready next year? It seems like your guys coming back. Cassius Howell, we think will be back. Rylan Kennedy, those guys are about probably 260-ish. And I think you can get by with those guys at D end. Typically project as longer, rangier guys at that weight, twitchier guys at that weight, get after the quarterback. I think we know what we have in Rylan Kennedy. I think Rylan Kennedy's going to be a really big-time player for Texas A&M. It was a really solid class like the DBs, and I love the flip of Miles. We desperately need receivers. Yeah, we're going to look at some receiver options in the portal right now. Is Colin Klein the right choice for OC moving forward? I don't know. I think he'll get a second year, and I think we can reserve judgment for then because I think there's something to a year of installation and self-reflecting for Colin Klein and figuring out how he can better utilize the talent and how he can better attack the opposition he's seeing now. And I'll reserve judgment for that until after this season for sure. It was questionable at times, and you get a second year. You get a second year. You have to, have a chance to build this thing, build it to your, philosophies and see what you can do when you have a couple years in the program. I think year one, there's a lot of installation going on, a lot of feeling out your roster, a lot of understanding situations with your roster, and obviously failed the test a couple times this year, but we'll have to see how things go in year two. That's an interesting comment. That's why Scylla didn't play. He's he has more of a Howell and Kennedy build. He's got a bigger frame. Yeah, I think those guys were just getting reps ahead of Scylla, and I think that's why Scylla's gone now. How good will Ruin Owens be next year? Don't much about him. He has all the tools. He has the explosiveness. He has the speed. He has the receiving ability. We don't know. This was supposed to be the year he took a step, and we saw that from him as in a backup role behind Moss, and we didn't get to see it. So we had big hopes. We had really good reports coming out of camp from Ruben Owens. We'll have to see. Never judge a coach after 1 year. Exactly. Dalen Evans got good size, but not sure if he's much more of an inside guy. It's hard to tell. It seems like he carries a lot of extra weight. We'll have to see. After the last drive versus Texas, I don't know about Colin. Yeah. Like I said, it's a year one. You got to see a big picture here, but I totally hear you. And that kind of puts you on edge for sure, right? Play to win. I mean, I totally agree. All right, let's check out the portal doings really quick, then we'll get into the last of the calls. All right, here is who has entered the portal so far. Platt, obviously the tight end, didn't play much at all this year. Played a little bit late last season, but we saw the three-headed, kind of tandem at tight end in Calhoun, Theo, and Watson. And I think at least two of those guys will be back next year. Y'all have to tell me. I think Watson should be back. Let's double check that real quick. What's his first name? Let's type Watson. I forget names. Trey Watson. I think he's gone. Yeah, he'll most likely be gone. But you still have Donovan Green, and you added names here are tough for me. Keoti Armstrong. So, yeah, Platt's going to look for opportunity elsewhere, and that's not ideal, but it's something you feel like you can fill in nicely. You have options there. Unfortunate. Jalen Henderson needed to find opportunity elsewhere. You totally agree. We'll get back to Connor in a second. Aki obviously needs opportunity elsewhere. Not a surprise. Cyrus Allen went down late with injury. Never really found consistency on the year. You wish to have him back. You don't. You're going to have to go receiver hunting. You would have had to do that regardless. You probably would have tried to find somebody that maybe could be even better than Cyrus Allen even if he came back. So, unfortunate to lose someone in a position of need. It happens. We'll move on. We'll find some people. In GBD, unfortunate, injury-riddled career at A&M. Raw talent coming out of high school. 5-star out of high school. Great character guy. Great parents. Didn't work out. Unfortunate to lose a guy in a position of need. And Tamu Amopepe has announced he's entering. I guess he's not in the portal just yet. And then obviously Connor Wigman. And the writing was really on the wall as soon as you made the decision versus LSU, and then subsequently made the decision to stick with Marcel in the next game. Connor's going to have to find opportunity elsewhere. And we know the tools that Connor Wigman has. I have to commend him. Didn't have the great year. I mean, he got a lot of flack from a lot of Aggies this year, and it appeared as though he remained a great teammate the whole time. From what we saw at games, on the sideline, he was always in Marcel's ear. He was always hyping Marcel up. He was always giving him high fives after touchdowns. He was always looking at that iPad on the sideline with Marcel, breaking down plays. You got to give Connor credit for sticking with the program even when things weren't going his way. It's unfortunate, but it's Marcel now. And Connor's going to find a great home, and as these things go, he's probably going to go be great somewhere. So, didn't work out with Connor. It's unfortunate. Now we move on. So this is what we lose, and here's what's available. At receiver, Dan Key's the most recent entry, I think. So is this Nick Anderson from OU. Casey Concepcion from NC State. Micah Hudson out of Texas Tech. These are all guys that A&M is knocking on the door of. If there's a name in the portal, I would imagine A&M is looking at tape on them for receiver. And I would imagine, just like you would, that this is the number one priority going into this portal class after losing, obviously, Cyrus Allen. You lose Ja'Day Walker. You lose Moose Muhammad, who disappeared anyway. Unfortunately, you're going to have to find a lot of bodies because you're going to be hard-pressed relying on true freshmen to fill out your entire receiver rotation plus Noah Thomas. You're going to need explosiveness. You're going to need speed. I think Isaiah Satenya, wherever he is on here, out of Arkansas, is another really good option that A&M has relationships with. He's way down here, I guess. Unless I missed him. Maybe he's not in here yet. A lot of guys are announced but aren't in the portal pool just yet. So any wish list guys? Any wish list receivers for you guys? I just need 2 or 3 guys. I trust the staff to find what they need. I know the staff knows what it needs. I know it's very obvious what this offense lacked, and that was explosive playmakers. Wherever that is, the staff will knock on the door and go and find them. Any other positions we think we need to look at in terms of portal entries? I think defensive end could use some depth. I think corner could probably use some depth. Key, Hudson, and Anderson, says Matt. Jonathan says Satenya will be good for us. Yeah, I think corners. Obviously, safety is a weird area of the team where you have a lot of options, but they all kind of just fizzled out towards the end of the year, unfortunately. We were super high on Dalton Brooks. Started when he came back kind of mid-year, made a really big impact in the running game, but then showed to be kind of like very inconsistent in his coverages and very susceptible to play action. Marcus Radcliffe, really good the first couple games of the year, but then started taking some bad angles, playing himself out of plays. Bryce Anderson had a rough transition going back to safety this year. You have so many guys at safety, but do you need someone to push that room? As much as you added last offseason, you might. Or a guy like Miles Davis might have to step up and contend for playing time next year because he played really well in mop-up duty this year. Offensive line, I feel like you have tremendous depth there. I feel like you have your whole starting five. I feel like they made an impact this year. I didn't finish as strong as they started. I think you're on a good path offensive line-wise to where you're not desperate in the portal for guys, especially if you get Zune back, especially if you get Armaje Reed-Adams back. I feel like O-line is steady. Quarterback. This is like a huge list we're to navigate. Let me refresh it because I think I expanded the receivers. All right, let's find quarterback. All right. Oh, Connor Wigman, that's an interesting one. Okay, Miller Moss. I don't think you're going for like Power 5 starter caliber guys when you have Marcel Reed here waiting in the wings. I think you're probably going to go for like a G5 or a lower P5 guy who's ready to step up in competition, who's willing to step into a competition, who's willing to be a backup and wait for an opportunity in case of injury or something happens and he needs to play. I mean, who might that be? Who might that be? I don't know if you guys even agree with me that you need a quarterback to push Marcelo to kind of raise the floor. Six killer, that's an interesting one. Sluka? No. There's some options out there. I'd be surprised if they didn't add one. We'll see how these tea leaves kind of look over the next couple of weeks when the portal actually opens. We start to get some more intel. Keep an eye on your insiders. I am not one. And I think you will need to grab a D tackle or two. You need some experience in there because you add some really good quality guys from the high school ranks that could probably play. But I don't know if you want them down to down. I don't know if you want them necessarily in your second wave of players right away. Definitely not both of them. And as it stands right now, the experience you have coming back at D tackle is DJ Hicks and potentially Albert Regis. So you're going to have to find some D tackles with experience, I would think, in the portal. What does D-line look like next year? I just went through the two tackles. On the outside, you have Rylan Kennedy and potentially Cassius Howell back. E.N.I. White didn't really get much going this year. Anything going this year. Started with an injury through camp. EJ's out of eligibility for running back. Yeah. Here's an interesting point, and I don't want to make too much of this because there's no intel here. Are we sure that Shamar Stewart's going pro? Are we sure that he played himself into like a top 3 round NFL pick? Are we sure that he can't play himself into a top 3 round NFL pick next season if he comes back? I think Shamar Stewart is pretty close to a 50-50 right now. Shamar Turner is gone, yes. But I think Shamar Stewart is kind of in a 50-50 spot right now. I think the build, I think the athleticism, I think the body will definitely put him on the radar of NFL teams. But I think there are millions to be made for Shamar Stewart if he wants to come back. Now he can cut his losses and go pro now and get onto a roster now and take his chance there. I think there's a very, very real chance, 50-50, that Shamar Stewart's back. And I didn't feel that way about 5 weeks ago. So I'll put that out there. You want to go even crazier? Is Nick Scorton still a first rounder? He had a great Missouri game. He had a great LSU game. But outside of that, maybe the Arkansas game, relatively underwhelming season for what he had put on tape his sophomore year. I think if Shamar goes pro now, he's a second rounder. That's my take right now. Let's pull up. Let's see if there's a recent mock draft we can look at. I don't know how reliable any of these mocks are. All right. Here's a mock that doesn't have him in the first round. Unless I missed him. Let me double check before I throw it up. No, this is an old mock. I don't know. Guys. Y'all tell me. How y'all feel about Scorton and Stewart. I think there's definitely a 50-50 chance with Stewart right now. I think there's a greater than 0 chance Scorton returns, and obviously that is the lesser likely of the two scenarios. But I think Scorton can play himself back into a top rounder. But if he doesn't feel like he can, I feel like he has to take what's there. He has to take what's given. We'll see. It's definitely something that wasn't on the radar that should be on the radar now. You think iJokers thinks that Stewart is a top 3 rounder? You think he is with combine measurements? It's possible. It's possible. I think there's a significant chance he has to return though. I think that chance for both of them has risen. Obviously more for Stewart. I think 90% sure Scorton goes pro, but I think the door is open. I think the door is open for Scorton to return. All right, guys. I'm done talking. Y'all are done sick of hearing from me. We got a couple callers waiting. We got Lash. I will tell you guys, Lash is not for the faint of heart, but I'm going to put him on anyway because he deserves a chance to talk. Lash, you're on with Drew. I don't want to ask you how you're feeling. I'll just give you the floor, Lash.
No, you don't want to know. I have some really annoying neighbors.
Oh, let me hear about your neighbors.
Yes, I woke up Sunday morning to find a Longhorn flag planted in my front lawn.
No, you didn't.
Yes, I did.
And how did you react to this?
I torched it.
Okay. That's good. That's good.
I went right out and burned the bastard. I'm like...
That probably made you feel a little better.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, if my neighbors did that to me, I'd be torching more than the flag.
Yeah, if I'd known for sure who'd done it, that there might have been a house burning along with the flag. But,
Yeah.
yeah, it has not been a good week.
Yeah.
I read an article about TU.
Oh, be careful with doing that.
Well, it's about you remember when they threw everything except Bevo onto the field during the Georgia game?
Yeah.
Well, they said that they were going to find the people that were the worst offenders and make examples out of them.
Yeah.
Well, they just came out with their report. It's like, gee, we couldn't find anybody. So sad, too bad.
That's a good old self-analysis there, huh? A good old,
Yeah,
we find ourselves innocent.
It's like we're Texas and you're not, so we can get away with anything.
Yeah.
I had forgot. I don't know. I'm going to stand out like a sore thumb here, but I think that I'm the only one that did not miss playing them every year.
You didn't miss playing them?
Not at all.
Okay.
But I didn't have to put up with all the crap.
Yeah. Yeah. You got to put up with that crap again, but hey, you get to beat them now.
Yeah, well, I don't know how long that's going to take.
Yeah, we'll see.
Because it's not going to happen next year. And I pulled up the record, our all-time record against them. And kind of hard to call it a rivalry when you win 1 out of every 3 games.
Yeah, it's a fair point. It's unfortunate. Got to make up some ground there at some point.
I think it's like 77 to.
Why are we doing this? You don't have to say it. You don't have to say it.
Okay, I won't. But I'm a numbers guy. What can I tell you? Anyway, yeah, when I see numbers, they kind of burn into my brain, and I can't get rid of them.
Yeah.
But we'll see what happens next year. Although I'm not really looking forward to it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because we got, what is it? Notre Dame, Mizzou, Arkansas, LSU, and TU all on the road.
Yeah. It's looking tough. I'll say, I don't know how a couple.
The best we're gonna do is 1 and 4 out of those.
Well, I'll say this. I think some of those teams are not in position to rebound very well next year. I think Missouri's going to have a bit of a rebuild. LSU might have a rebuild. We'll see. You might be right. And I'm not getting into this just now, but I'll go ahead and say, I think with the nature of next year's schedule, we do need to be very careful with our expectations next season.
Yep.
It's a tough schedule. It's really tough.
Yeah, because and then at home we have South Carolina, and I don't know who. I'm not sure who all they got coming back, but that game scares me.
Oh, they got guys coming back. They'll have Lenore Sellers.
Yeah, yeah. He may be all they need. He single handedly ran roughshod all over us
Yeah,
in Columbia, and then
he's
then
good.
we got Florida, which with their schedule finished 7-5. I'm glad we got them when we did, because if we'd had to play them late, we would have never beat them.
Maybe.
The Florida we got early in the year and the Florida that played the last month of the season, two different animals.
Well, I'll say our offensive line and our running game was different between then and there too. What we were able to do against Florida is just lean on their defensive line with our, at the time, healthy offensive line and at the time healthy backfield, and ran on them and kind of took the air out of that game by way of like a 95-yard touchdown drive. I don't know if when we're injured we could do that, but that's how we won that game, and I don't know if they were able to kind of combat that directly. But they might have scored more.
That's true, but they were definitely playing better in November than they were in September.
Yeah, I'm glad we get them at home next year. I do like our home schedule next year. I mean, we get to get some revenge on South Carolina. Florida should be a more dangerous team. We'll be at home. Auburn should be a much more dangerous team next year. We get them at home. It's a tough schedule next year.
Yeah. The only sure win out of our other than our three non-conference cream puffs is Mississippi State.
Yeah.
Well, we could have problems with the other three.
Yeah.
Especially, you want a scary thought? Because I read this somewhere, when I checked out who all we were losing in the portal, and one of the articles went into possible homes for Connor Wigman. What if he ends up at Auburn with Hugh Freeze?
I mean, he'll have to sit out a year, so I don't think he would do it.
You mean he couldn't just hop in the portal and?
No, if you go SEC to SEC in the portal, you have to sit out a year.
Oh, okay, yeah, then that's
so he could if he wanted to do that, but I don't think he'd want to do that.
Yeah,
chat. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe if you go same conference, that's only spring window. So if he does it in the winter, he could play right away.
Yeah, and I could also see him. This doesn't affect us a whole lot. I could see him going to Ohio State because they were less than shot in the arm with what's his name from Kansas State.
Yeah, we'll see, man. We'll see. Yeah, it's definitely a tough schedule. Yeah, I didn't know it was only spring window. Thanks for the clarification, but 3 people said it, so it must be true. But yeah, I think Auburn's a great candidate for him. David says Missouri, good one as well. And I think Missouri's actually already on the board. I think there were a couple of early indicators. One was Missouri, one was Syracuse, a couple others. I don't think Auburn was on there, but it does make sense there. We'll see.
I don't know why he'd go to Syracuse unless the kid that went there from Ohio State is graduating or gets drafted this year.
Yeah.
And I have a feeling he's going to be back because I haven't heard anybody talking about him as draft material.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I see some people saying Wigman to Mizzou. Yeah, it makes sense. He'd have to come back to Kyle Field next year, though. I wonder if he would calculate that into his decision. I think he would get cheers here, though. I don't think there would be too much hostility towards him.
I don't think it's been my experience. We don't hold grudges unless they transfer to TU.
That you better not do that. I don't think you will.
And that's a good way.
Yeah, I think Syracuse is actually a really good option because of the E-Rob, and then I do think McCord is gone. I just looked it up. He's a senior, and I think Wigman would have a chance there. We'll see what happens, Lash. Any closing thoughts, man?
Oh, I heard an interesting story about how TU's mascot got its name.
I've heard the story.
Okay, suppose it's one of the years that A&M won the game, and because a couple of Ags got into where they were keeping Bevo, and they branded the score 13-0 onto his hide.
Yeah.
and that's kind of permanent. So the only thing the Sips could do was take a running iron, and I don't know. Those of you that don't know what a running iron is, that's what rustlers used to do to change the brands on cattle that they stole.
Huh.
Anyway, so they took that and they turned 13-0 into Bevo,
Yeah.
and the rest is
Then
history.
they ate him.
Yeah. Yeah, eat more beef. Yeah.
More beef. Yeah, and it was a rotten taste. No, that's right, Lash. That's right. At least we get to tell that story. All right, Lash. I appreciate the call, man. You have a great night.
Yeah, you do the same.
All right, that was classic Lash. Classic Lash. Appreciate it, man. Play to win. You're on with Drew. How you doing, Play to win?
Hey, Drew. Doing pretty good. I want to go over the Texas game just real quick.
Yeah, wherever you want to go. Sure.
Saturday night on their last drive. I mean, there was two turnovers. There was a Ewers fumble. There was the block punt. I mean, we could have easily won that game 21-17. Of course, we didn't. Will Lee had a chance to pick the ball up. He had to do it on the first bounce because he kind of slipped a little bit. If he'd been able to do it, he could have ran that Ewers fumble back to another touchdown.
I wish he did because there was no movement with the offense, and Elko even said, "Yeah, that their coach to scoop and score there. It was a stumble."
It was a stumble. Yeah, it's just the race didn't perfectly go our way, but our play call was questionable. I don't know if it was calling. I guess it was calling. I mean, we kept running the ball inside with Daniels, and it's like we were just telegraphing to the defense. It was like the definition of insanity. We're just going to keep playing, running the same play over and over again, hope for a different result instead of, hey, let's do a quarterback bootleg. Or let's do like a trick play out of the playbook, man. Call in.
Yeah.
That didn't happen.
And
They were waiting on us. They were like a big gang. We know you're coming up the middle.
Yeah. Yeah, man. I mean, and at that point in the game, you knew you were getting worked on the interior. You knew you were getting beat at the line of scrimmage late in the game. That was happening right in front of me. I was sitting in the end zone. That was all happening right in front of me. They were going full huddle, snapping with 10 seconds left on the clock. All four of those plays in that possession. Over 2 minutes went off the clock during that. And you needed 2 scores. So clock management was bad right there. Play calling was bad. I mean, the guy that made the tackle, Ethan Burke, was an unblocked weak side defensive end. By design, they don't block that guy on some goal line plays. But, I mean, he was Johnny on the spot on that play because they saw it coming. And he was able to just go balls to the wall to the ball carrier. So, unfortunately, it was poor. I think most people look at that as a poor decision by the coaching staff. Hopefully, it's a learning moment for them. I mean, there were so many other things, I mean, us couch fans would have done, but I would like to hear the mindset there. It sounds like Elko wasn't happy with the decision in the postgame presser either.
No, he wasn't, and I watched it, and the thing was we're averaging 1.6 yards per carry. Colin, what does that tell you? You think we ought to run it inside again with Daniels? Oh yeah, let's do it. Okay, well, it didn't work. Let's do something different. Our job is to deceive the defense. Deceive.
Yeah,
deceive them. And trick and fool. And we did none of it. We just went right up the middle. It was like the old Redskins 50 gut with John Riggins. And but John Riggins would have ran through that line. But anyway.
Yeah, I mean, get Marcel involved. Give yourself some options on the play.
Yeah, a quarterback bootleg. Let's try that. I mean, I don't know. It was a disaster. We had 4 minutes and 56 seconds left, I think, at the end of the game. We had 4 timeouts, including the 2-minute stop. We had time to figure it out. Let's really do something. Let's pull a trick play. Let's do the quarterback bootleg. Let's do something different. Don't telegraph. Basically, they were just waiting on us to go inside.
Yeah.
And it just fell apart. Unfortunately, I think we had a chance. We could have easily won at 21-17 with those 2 turnovers. Could have done it, but we didn't anyway.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, we were getting worked in that game. We forced those 2 red zone turnovers. We were in a position to make it a game, but we just couldn't do it.
No, we just couldn't turn the trick, and I think a bad play calls right at the end there hurt us.
Yeah.
By doing the same thing over and over. Anyway.
Yeah.
But Joker made he made a good point. He said, yeah, but if you let's say, I'm not saying get rid of Colin, but if we
Hold on, play to win. You're chopping
If
out.
Colin were to leave, he'd probably taking some offensive players with him, and
the recruiting.
wait for these recruits to come in. I mean, I can't even wait. Our recruiting, I can't even wait for April, the Maroon and White game, to see what these guys are going to look like. First look will be in April.
Yeah.
I can't even wait. I'm so excited because all the talent that we got coming. I was looking at the roster of early signing or early signing day, and we've got this Keati Armstrong, Marcus Garcia, Brady Hart. Jamarian Morrow.
Yeah, the running back.
A list of people. Jerome Miles. That's the one I picked.
Yeah, it's a good one.
But any of them are good. I mean, the room picked other players. Yeah, I mean, I'm all Landon Grant. Yeah, I'm all for it. I mean, DJ Sanders, Tyler Thomas. I'm just going through. And here, very important. Breakdown by position. Defensive backs, we got 5 coming.
Yeah.
Defensive line 4, linebackers 2, quarterback 1, running back 2, tight end 1, and we got wide receivers. We got 3 coming to us. And breakdown by state, we got 1 from Alabama, 1 from Arizona, 3 from California, 2 from Florida, 1 from Tennessee. We've got 15 from Texas, of course, and that one you talked about from Utah, 1.
Yep.
Okay, so we've got a star-studded cast coming, man. And I tell you what, I know our coaches can't wait to get with them, man, and start working with them. It's going to be a fantastic 25. But now we look at the schedule, and it's going to be rough. It's going to be like the opposite of what we had this season.
Yep.
It's going to be we're going to start with UTSA August 30th. Then at Notre Dame, we're going to Notre Dame Saturday, September 13th. And then we got the Tarleton State Texans coming in to College Station. But then we go back to Arkansas. We'll be in Arkansas, not AT&T. And then we're at LSU. We're at Missouri. We're going to be on the road for 3 weeks. Oh, at 4 weeks at Texas.
Those aren't ordered yet. Those are not ordered yet. The SEC schedule order will come out later. So when you're seeing those 4 away games in a row, that they will shuffle around.
Okay, good. And
the
then,
first 4, the
Tigers.
non-con are established, but the SEC schedule is not yet.
Okay, so it's still up. Okay, good. And then the Auburn Tigers, we're supposed to have them at Kyle Field. Florida Gators at Kyle Field. Mississippi State at Kyle Field. And South Carolina at Kyle Field. Yeah, I see what you're saying. We're not going to have 4 home games in a row from the SEC.
It's possible
that's what it's showing.
It's possible we have multiple away games in a row, though. We have 5 true away games this year. Normally, I think it's 4 because you have the Arkansas game at neutral. So it will be 5 true away games this year, which is unusual.
Okay, well, that holds true. Then that's gonna be rough.
It's tough, man. That's what I say.
It's gonna be a tough.
I think we can improve as a team, but not necessarily improve as a record because of how tough the schedule is.
Yeah.
That's why I say we got to be very careful about our expectations next season. Let's check out the portal. Let's see what kind of team we build. We'll have 2 weeks dress rehearsal this year, as opposed to last year we were jumping right into Notre Dame. I think we'll have a much better feel for things after that Utah State game and after we see what happens in the portal. But it is a very, very tough schedule.
Yeah, that's a good point about the portal, because we might be getting some players in the portal. We'll be losing some. We all knew about Connor. We were pretty certain Connor Wegman's going.
Yeah, the writing was on the wall. He needs to play.
Yeah, he wants to go somewhere and play. And at whatever college that is, he wants to be the guy. He wants to be just like he was at A&M. It was that injury that did him in. That AC joint injury in the shoulder. That's what did the guy in, man. But, just more power to him. I hope he goes to a team where he can play. And as far as the portal, we're going to keep Will Lee. We're going to keep Scooby Williams. They're staying on for another season.
Yep.
I saw the news. I went, great.
Yep. I think Scooby definitely took steps this year compared to where he was with Florida. I think there's another step to be taken. I think you're going to get Torian York back. I'm pretty confident in saying that. Will Lee's a big one to get back. Will Lee is huge to get back. He's your best coverage guy.
Yes.
Des Ricks is going to develop. I think he'll be back. Yeah, you got pieces to build on. Like I said though, you can improve and still not have the amazing record to show for it just because of how tough the schedule is.
It's going to be tough next season. But Will Lee is a leader. He is a team captain. I
Yeah,
mean, on that defense.
I like Willie a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, I do too, man. I mean, he almost pulled the trick off, man. That Ewers fumble, he almost ran it back. But it's just it was the break that didn't go our way. The ball, that one bounce, I saw it. I looked at it in slow motion. That one bounce up. If he could have grabbed both hands on it, he was gone. But it didn't happen.
I just can't believe we got nothing out of that whole situation. That was brutal.
The whole thing, yeah, exactly, Drew. That's the way I was feeling about it. I was like, man, we can't get out of 2 turnovers like that, 2 monumental turnovers at the end of the game, and we could not convert for one more touchdown at least.
Yeah,
and a field goal, and at least tie the game, much less win at 21-17. Could have.
Yeah.
But those are the breaks. That's the way it went. Hey, and I want to shout out to Coach Sarkisian, because he went out to the field, the middle of the field. He herded his players away from the 50-yard line, away from our logo, and got them away, because I think they were trying to go out there and plant their flag on our logo, which could have caused. I mean, it could have caused violence, riot. I mean, it could have been bad.
Yeah.
Because he had seen before earlier the Ohio State-Michigan game.
Yeah.
Where you had players that got out of hand. They pulled the flag out. They want to go plant it out there. Michigan, plant their flag out there. It caused a lot of trouble. I mean, where the cops had to pepper spray players.
I saw that was insane.
That was they got ugly. And I think Sarkisian was like, no, we're not having it.
Yep.
I know that's a big rival. A&M's our big rival, but we're not having it. So, shout out to Coach Sarkisian for stopping it.
Yeah, I respect Sark a lot. I think he does a lot of good things. I just think he happens to coach the wrong team. So therefore, that is what it is. But I do respect him, and I'm glad he did that.
Well, I think Nick Saban should have came to A&M, but we know how that turned.
Right, exactly.
I'm a big Nick Saban fan, and just kudos to Coach Sarkisian for what he did, to control his players. That was great.
Yeah, absolutely. So,
that's about all I got. Hey, it's been fun. It's been a good season. I'm gonna miss everybody. I miss you. I'm gonna miss the room.
We're not stopping. We're not stopping. We're gonna keep this going through the off season.
Okay. Oh, hey, by all means. I mean, this started for me July 31st.
Yeah.
It started for me. I got in on the show, and we've been going ever since with everybody. This, it's great. Lash, Benzo, Double Guy, Jeff. It just goes on and Kelly. This is all of it.
Exactly.
It's been a fun season, man. I mean, but that was our last regular season game. But we do have the Vegas Bowl coming up with USC.
Is that what it's going to be?
Yeah. USC December 27th. That's who we're playing against.
Is that official?
Yeah, I saw it. Somebody was going through the bowl games. It was a video I was watching on YouTube, and he went through all the bowl games, and it was USC versus Texas A&M for the Vegas Bowl.
I think it's still projections at this point. I don't think it's official.
Oh, it's not? Okay.
Well, I believe.
Hopefully. I mean, hey, we'll play USC. We'll play. Hey,
I take it.
Yeah, put whoever you want on the other side of the field. We'll play him.
Yeah, let's get it. I would like to get a 9th win. I would really like to get a 9th win. I know bowls are hit or miss with, the buy-in, but, I think we're at an important year one point where you would like to get as much buy-in as you can on this game.
Yeah, you want the Elko first year to go out with a bowl win. That's what we want. And another thing, too, if we would have beat Texas, we would not have beat Georgia. Georgia would have beat us. I mean, if we'd have got past Texas, I'm afraid that's going to be the 2 strongest teams. Unfortunately, it's Texas versus Georgia, and that's fine. And Texas is going to have a hard time with them, man. But they might come out on top, which would make us look better.
Yeah,
that they were the team. They were the better team.
Yep. I would pick Texas right now to win that game. I would.
Yeah, in the rematch, and even Kirby Smart is smart.
Yeah,
his last name says a lot. But and he's a great coach, and they got some great athletes. But I think Texas might end up winning out this time.
Yeah, there's a reason his name is not Kirby Dumb. He's smart.
That's it. Exactly.
All right, Play to Win. I appreciate the call as usual, man. And we'll keep going through the off season, and I'm sure I'll hear from you then too.
Okay, buddy.
All right. Have a good night. Later.
Good night.
Yeah, exactly, Spencer. It's hard to beat the same team twice. The losing team will make the adjustments. I'm sure the winning team will make adjustments too. But I feel like there are more lessons and more adjustments to be made after a loss. Attitude-wise, being the loser, yeah, it's hard to beat the same team twice. It's hard to beat Georgia, but I think Texas is good enough to do it, and I think Texas beats Georgia, unfortunately. All right, checking in on the chat before we get to our last call of the night. Did y'all Marcel's snap during Marcel's feet pre-snap? So when Marcel's feet are even, it's a run play. When Marcel's feet are staggered in shotgun, it's a pass play. Apparently not, because it's been through every game to close out the year. Every game Marcel was in, if he's in gun and his feet are staggered, he's passing. If his feet are even, it's play action or he's running. So that's a huge tell. You don't know if defenses caught on to that, but there's a very good chance they did. And you can't have tells if you're an offense, especially if you're a quarterback. Pretty scary if they didn't find it. I'm sure they found it now that, social media has found it. But that wasn't the case on the 4th and 1 play, though, because he was under center. I'm glad Notre Dame isn't first week. Me too. You get a ramp up this year. That's really, really important, I think. Need Micah Hudson like my team need. Like I need oxygen. Yeah, I would love to have him for sure. If we improve the receivers and our D-line comes back, we'll go as far as Reed takes us. That's a really true statement, man. I feel good about this team's ability to acquire talent. It's going to be about getting the most out of Marcel, Marcel's ability to read a defense. Someone said, do you think Marcel doesn't trust his O-line? I think he feels presences before they're there. I don't think he trusts his O-line enough as much as he should. Because I think the O-line was pretty solid in pass pro for most of the year. Of course, you had some breakdowns versus Texas, one of the best defenses in the country. But I think, yeah, definitely had happy foot, definitely played sped up at times. Did your brother gloat? He did not gloat. He was respectful. In my opinion, not a good sign that Elko allowed Klein to call those plays. I wanted to see Connor in the second half because of all the misreads by Reed. I tell myself it's year one, but it's still worrisome. It is worrisome. I think it's a tough position to put Connor in at that point in the year. I think Reed has performed I think Reed had some success in the game too. I do think that Colin Klein had some bad calls and took the game kind of where it shouldn't have gone in the later moments of the game. Yeah, it wasn't a good second half by the coaching staff overall. I will agree with that. And I think they'll acknowledge that. And I think Elko was very frustrated in the post-game presser acknowledging that. All right. Let's get into the last call. Oh, Benzo, you're disconnected, man. There you are. Benzo, you're on with Drew. How you feeling, man?
Well, I know the definition of bittersweet.
Yeah, you're feeling it. It's a little bit more bitter than sweet, but there is some sweetness in there.
Yeah, well, I got my pick six.
You did.
That's the sweet.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah. You've been calling for that. Yeah.
Man, I'm like, oh my gosh. So, what is it? Lash. It was the one that was saying like he doesn't like to watch, or he was saying something like he doesn't like to dish it out because he can't handle it or something like that.
Yeah, because he can't take it, so he doesn't dish it as much as he should, or something like that.
Yeah. Well, I was thinking, I could take it. And so, we went over my cousins, and, they're all Longhorns, and, I'm the only Aggie there. So I was like, all right. Oh, man, I'm telling you, I was like, all right. The game was like, what was it? The last drive before they were about to kill the clock. And I was like, all right, we're done.
Yeah.
So I tell my wife, I was like, all right, let's go. She's like, well, we're talking about, she was talking to my cousin. She's like, oh, we're talking about cookies. We're thinking of ideas and stuff. We wanted to talk a little more. I was like, I was so rude. I was like, you know what? I don't care. We need to go.
Screw your cookies. We're leaving.
Yeah. Let's get the hell out.
Yeah, dude, I'd be out of there too. I don't know how you even did that. I don't know how you can watch a rivalry game amongst the rivals. Well,
it's nice because, and just like how Bevo's in the chat, or I don't know if he's still in there or not, but, he's gloating. He knows what he's doing. And, he's talking about how the day was very nice and, the week's been nice. So, it's nice because, we had to take it. We got our butts whooped.
Yeah.
But then, but when we start doing the whooping, that's when it's just like, okay, you get the Jeremy Clarkson smile going.
Yeah.
you just rub it in, and I was like, all right.
Yeah, well, you'll eventually get it back, but you got to sit with it for a year at a time. That's just how it works.
Yeah. Oh man, yeah. So I was like, I had to like take a step back, because Kristen, was like, all right, you're being like super rude, my wife. It's like you're being super super rude. I was like, oh, dang it, you're right. I was like, I'm
Yeah.
so sorry. I
Yeah.
was like,
It's just a game, but it kind of isn't. But
yeah.
it kind of is, but it kind of isn't.
Oh man, yeah. Hey, okay, so the recruits. One of the main ones that stood out for me,
Uh-huh.
the Armstrong guy, the tight end.
Yeah, big time guy.
Whew, my goodness, 6'6", and I'm sure he's gonna grow probably like another inch, if not.
He could,
But
yeah, at his age, he could.
yeah, so it's just crazy because like that guy can move, and he just like a what was he like 295 or like how much did he weigh?
He's
Or what was
260, I think 265, something like that.
it? Oh, okay, okay. Yeah, man, I saw him on there. I was looking at the film earlier today, and I was like, wow, that out of all of them, I mean, aside from the O line, I really liked how they did the O line thing.
Yeah.
Aside from that, though, that Armstrong guy was like, I was like, my jaw almost dropped. I was like, whoa.
Yeah, you get a really big time receiving tight end. He's going to be huge for the team. He's really going to be
Yeah.
a big time player for us.
Oh man, yeah. So that guy really, stuck out to me. Now one nitpicky, how'd you say it? The coach couch or whatever.
Oh, yeah, couch coach. Yeah, whatever.
There you go. Yeah. So one thing, how play to win was talking about the last drive.
Uh-huh.
Well, not the last drive, but like one of the drives to get us at the freaking end zone.
Yeah, the 4th and 1,
That-
the goal line stand, yeah.
Yeah. So the play right before that was a pass to the tight end. What's his name? 84.
Trey Watson.
Yeah, Watson. So I'm like, dude, why did we not just like call up a play to feed that guy? Like he was eating, let him eat some more. And I'm like, I don't know. It was just so weird how
Yeah.
it was like we were adamant about no, we have to make a stand, even though we didn't have to make a stand.
Yeah.
I don't know. It was just so weird. I don't know.
It was weird, and Elko was frustrated about it. He said he didn't have a good answer for it, and yeah, it's we'll be questioning that one the whole off season. We'll be hoping for improvement in that regard. I'll say this about Klein: I think the play selection at times was bad, but I did see the playbook expand over the last 2 games, in the Auburn game and the Texas game. It's just what he went to at times in games. Some of the receiver trees, I feel like you didn't really get a lot of deep shots going with your offense. Some of that has to do with Marcel. We're going to have to evolve it, but I think he was putting something together. It was just play selection really that was bothersome.
Yeah. Yeah. It almost like feels like he was I don't know. I don't know. Maybe it almost feels like a pride thing. Like, he wanted to make us. It definitely felt like he wanted to make a statement as far as like just running it.
Yeah, some people have called it emotional coaching in the game. I don't know if I don't know if that's what it was.
Yeah.
It could just be sticking to kind of what got you there, but you don't really have what got you there with your kind of, beaten up offensive line and not having Le'Veon Moss. I think what you were kind of becoming was a dynamic quarterback, and having to get him active is what you became, but he wanted to stick to what got us there is what it kind of felt like at the time. And it just wasn't there that game.
Yeah. Yeah. So I don't know. It was just, I was like, man, looking back and doing the armchair thing where I'm like, man, we could have just did a trick play, because it was crazy because Texas did it just the other week, where they pulled the tight end and then they threw it to the tight end or whatever.
Well, yeah, and they threw the Arch Manning wrinkle into this game where he was the quarterback in the red zone, and that was kind of their big wrinkle. And our big wrinkle versus Auburn that actually worked, if it wasn't for the drop, was getting Bussy in the backfield as the quarterback, handing it to Marcel, letting Marcel take a pass. You had one Bussy snap in the game versus Texas, but that actually worked when you used it versus Auburn. I don't know why they didn't go back to stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. Did you honestly think that was a touchdown that was it Manny?
Yeah, I thought it was a touchdown.
Really? Because it looked like it was outside of the pylon. I just
It was, but when you touch the pylon,
okay.
the goal line indefinitely extends. Is how I understand the rule. So as soon as the pylon gets touched by any body part, which it did, I think his leg
Yeah.
touched it or something, the goal line becomes an infinite extension. That's how I interpret the rule.
Wow. Okay. So essentially, that's not out of bounds. Then is what
Yeah,
you're.
no,
Uh,
the ball would just have to get over that plane. It wouldn't have to be over the out of bounds line. It would only have to be over that horizontal line, which would then extend indefinitely if you knock the pylon over. That's how I understand the rule. Maybe Chat can help us out there. So I did think it was a touchdown. Both of their touchdowns got reviewed. I thought they were both the right call.
yeah, that was just weird to me because I was like, man, it's clearly he's on the outside of the pylon. And I was like, what? This is weird. Why is he? Why are they calling
Yeah,
this?
yeah. It's when your leg bumps it, you get more wiggle room there whenever you touch the
Okay.
pylon, I believe.
So essentially, so from just to recap on that, like any part of the pylon is considered touchdown.
Well, if you touch it, the ball still has to cross the plane, I think. But the ball just has to cross the plane. It doesn't have to be like inbounds on the sideline. The end zone will kind of extend indefinitely. I don't know if I'm doing like hand motions on the video version.
Oh yeah.
But basically, if you touch it, you just have to cross the
Yeah.
goal line. It doesn't have to be over the pylon. It doesn't have to be inbounds. The ball just has to go over that goal line.
Like okay, I get what you're saying.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh wow. So okay, so that opens up a whole new thing. But watch when we play it back on with A&M and Reed does it. Oh no, it's out of
No,
bounds.
we better get that call. We better get that call.
Because man, that targeting one, I was like, what in the world's going on with this? Now, okay, sore loser thing. Just real quick, just to touch the ref. Is this true about that ref being the Texas Longhorn fan or whatever?
I think he had Texas in his LinkedIn or something like that. But hey,
Yeah,
we got
yeah.
our butt whipped, so I'm not even going there.
Oh, okay. No, that's what I'm just like. Okay,
Yeah.
Okay, can we just get like some Alabama guys or
Yeah, there's a whole conversation to be had about overall college and conference refs and everything, but
yeah, yeah.
I'll bring up ref stuff when we're more competitive in the game. And by scoreboard, we were competitive at times in that game, but by on-field play, we really weren't. So I won't even
Yeah.
bring it up.
Yeah, I mean, well, yeah, because definitely that we would have been leaning heavily on the refs helping us out, but but yeah, that's just my little sore loser moment.
Yeah, yeah. At least you're able to call it that, and you can see that. But yeah, I get it, man. I totally understand if you want to bring that up. It's just not my thing in a game like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And then looking forward, I definitely feel like Notre Dame is a must win as far as like a setting the tempo for the season.
Yeah, that's how those early Power 5 tests typically go. They're usually like you said, kind of a trendsetter. It's going to come in week 3 this year. It's on the road. I believe Notre Dame loses quite a bit, but they always recruit consistently. They develop really well. It'll be there. I hope to be at that game. If I go to one away game in the next 5 years, I want to go to that game. So I'll try to be there and, kind of give you guys my feel from that, from their stadium.
Yeah. So yeah, it was just like this week was like just a roller coaster because I was like, just super depressed. I called out twice, and I was just like, oh, so depressed.
You called out of work twice?
Oh yeah, man. It was just like I was not having that. It's the most depressed I've ever been because I was just like,
damn.
Well, it was 13 years in the making.
Yeah.
And and then it just like layer on top of layer. And I'm super optimistic, and then it like flattens out.
A slap in the face, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, it was. Harry Potter helped me out. So.
That's right. You binged Harry Potter, right?
Oh yeah. I watched like all the interviews, and I was just like going deep into it. I was like, all right.
Yeah. I kind of just ate it the morning of. I had to watch the interviews. I watched some highlights. I had to make a video. And then the rest of the Sunday, I kind of got away from it. And then Monday, I got sick, so I was distracted by being sick. And, I called out, but for different reasons because I was puking, so there's a difference. But that was a nice distraction, I guess. It was a rough week.
Yeah. But so the sweet moment is this class that we're getting with these young men.
It's a good class.
Oh yeah. So it's so crazy because it's just like when I lose hope, or not technically lose hope, but when I fell down, Elko, is like, okay, no, there's a vision to be had. There's there's a game plan at hand. We're not just like trying to whisk by or whatever. So I'm like, okay, I get what you're doing, and I can see the vision that you're trying to cast and stuff.
Yeah, this like I said earlier that this class I think was obvious. It's always important to acquire talent, and we did that.
Yeah.
But it was also just important to see how Elko closed, and it was our first full cycle with Elko. And even with that, he was still kind of playing from behind, and he closed really well. So
Yeah.
I think it bodes well. You're trending really well for next season's recruiting class, and talent acquisition will be there. But A&M has had talent before and not produced with it. So, like I'm saying now, I feel good about talent acquisition. We're going to get players. I think this portal is going to treat A&M really, really well. I think we're going to be really happy with what we get based on just, little whispers, little tea leaves and stuff. But it's going to be about what we do with it. It's going to be about Colin Klein improving. It's going to be about Jay Bateman improving, figuring out how to get the best out of players, developing players. That's where my focus will be. But you won't see that. You can kind of keep track of the player acquisition over time, and that's fun to do. And we'll feel good about it, I predict, and we already do. But it's going to be about what this staff can find within themselves and how they can get the most out of the team, which is going to be talented.
Yeah. Yeah, and I forget how young Klein is too. So he, like you're saying, he needs to grow as well. But actually, so taking a step back, first year, Elko cleans up all the mess that Jimbo gave us, and trying to pick up the pieces type thing.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but it's just crazy because out of the whole mess and all this stuff and everything, not only has he changed the culture to these guys thinking about team, because earlier y'all were talking about the quarterbacks, how Wigman, even though he was on the sideline, he was still cheering on stuff. So that's definitely the player, but that's more, I feel like that's more on the coach too. Encouraging that,
It's on the coach. It's also on, kind of vetting out the right personality traits when you're recruiting. I mean, we saw with that 2022 class, Jimbo went star hunting, but it didn't take character. It didn't take team buy-in into account. Yeah. And you saw that class fall apart. 4 of those guys got kicked off the team. A bunch of guys transferred out. A bunch of guys never found a college career because they just didn't have what it takes on that front, on the off-the-field front. And it's pretty hard to deny, based on what we've heard from insiders, people close to the program, based on the low amount of drama and arrests and suspensions we've had compared to previous years, that has improved. But is that the foundation you need for success? We'll find out.
I think it is. I think it is because what happens is, fourth quarter is all about attrition and the grit and stuff like that. So because then when we have like a game like we did with Texas, it's when we get head to head and stuff like that, with the attrition, with the grit, and with the team the team mentality, how everyone is out for each other. You're gonna get those wide receiver blocks that are gonna help us. You're just gonna get that extra effort versus like a star-studded staff or whatever.
You're also going to get better practice habits. You're going to get better, developmental sessions from a team that's bought in, and it's important. It all ripples down. It's the foundation. I mean, all we really see is the end result, and it's easy just to get caught up in that, and that really is how you're measured. But that is built off of what you're doing Monday through Friday, what you're doing, January through August. It's built off of that. So, that stuff gets underrated. That stuff will get brushed away, but it really is important. So, again, we'll have to see what that leads to with this iteration of the team. And it's early days. We'll have to find out.
Well, and then going back to the measurement thing, just doing the measurement for this year, we were literally one win away from going to the SEC championship. I don't remember, being in that ballpark. Uh, maybe since like 2012,
Yeah.
or it's just that's definitely saying something. It's just year one, and you're only one game away.
Yeah, it was nice to see the troops get rallied after a brutal early loss where you looked pretty bad in a lot of ways. It was good to see you go on the road, get over that road hump versus Florida. It was good to see you fully handle business versus Missouri. Not a great team, but a team that did prove to be more dangerous than you would have thought when they, at the time that A&M
Yeah.
kind of dismantled them. They became kind of a dangerous team, and you handled your business there. You beat LSU. You went on a 7-game winning streak, and that felt good. But with so much on the table at the end, so much to gain, an ability to win one game, an ability to beat Auburn, that still stings. So it's a little bit of both. It's a mixed bag. It definitely leaves you without closure, right? It leaves you kind of open-ended, but I think we can feel like there are strides being taken, but we'll again not be able to fully measure that until we get that actual win-loss measuring stick down the road.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. I don't know. Like I said, I'm optimistic. So
That's good.
once I get out of my funk, I get hopeful.
Yeah, at the end, I mean, it's all a freaking game. We love it. It's something that we're addicted to. It might as well make it enjoyable for yourself. So if that's how you enjoy it, that's how you enjoy it.
Yeah.
I'm glad you're optimistic.
Yeah. Well, Drew, I appreciate you, and I look forward to continuing the show and stuff like that, because you were saying you're doing more throughout the off season and stuff?
Yeah, I won't stop. It might be a little bit less regular, but I'll try to put stuff out weekly for sure. We'll get into an off-season groove here. We'll see. I have to kind of plan out what we're going to do, but we're going to do some baseball stuff. We'll do some basketball stuff. I'll keep updating with the football as that stuff progresses. We have a bowl game coming up that we'll cover. When we get to the dead of off-season, I'll probably reintroduce college football, the video game. We'll play some of that stuff. We'll have some fun. We'll do some call-ins too.
Nice. That sounds good. I definitely appreciate the show and stuff like that.
Yeah, I appreciate you, Benzo. I love it when you call in, man.
All right, man. Well, you have a good night.
You too, man. Have a good one. All right. That's the last caller of the night. Guys, I appreciate everybody being here. Kind of a mixed bag this week coming off the loss, but now dealing with the talent acquisition. Feel good about that. Feel bad about the loss. So we'll see what the portal holds. We'll go live again next week after I think the portal opens in, what is it, open next Tuesday or something like that? Right now it's Thursday the 5th, and it's going to open Monday. So we'll go through portal stuff when that opens. The floodgates will open next week. Guys, I think A&M's in for a really, really positive portal session. Let me ask the chat this. I mean, right now, this is not the point of this show. If you're just projecting next year, I mean, 8-4 again? Is that kind of where you're at based on the schedule? What would it take this offseason cycle for you to think that this team can improve in record against an undeniably tougher schedule? What would it take? What kind of portal haul would you need? Would you have to get like 2 of the top receivers in the portal, hit on a top DT? I mean, how would you feel? What would it be? Bevo's Bodyguard, we do not care about your opinion. We don't care. But we appreciate you in a weird way. In a weird way. See, you got Benzo, you got Franz. People get off on this stuff in different ways. Franz he's really immersed himself in the battered Aggie syndrome world, and I respect it. That's how you enjoy this. That's how you get through this. It's his coping mechanism, and Benzo's positive. That's his coping mechanism. I try to just call it as close to how I see it. I try not to be one way or the other. Later, play to win. SB Hustler quarterback. Do you think quarterback replacement, or do you think quarterback at least just to make a competition? Slow progression, 9-3. We get the win against Notre Dame. 9-3 is tough next year. 9-3 is really tough next year. I think 9-3 next year would be a big win for the team and could put you on, obviously, we're seeing SEC teams 9-3 as playoff fringe. Spencer Rojas, the Longhorn, says 9-3 if everything goes right. Not battered, bitter. That's fair. Like I said, I don't really mind however you cope with this. As long as you're not an asshole, as long as you're not spamming. Those are the things that just get you suspended. Bevo's bodyguard has avoided both of those things so far, but we got a close eye on Bevo's bodyguard. Bevo's bodyguard might need a bodyguard. We can't have play with on par with what we had this year. Whether that's with Marcelo or a portal quarterback is up in the air. For sure. I mean, I think that's the biggest key this offseason is just getting better play from your quarterback. And naturally, experience will bring better play, but to what level, to what end? It's got to go on the road several times next year. I think quarterback is going to be the huge point of, like, the variance point of the team next year. I feel like you're going to do well in the portal everywhere. Bryce the Ice, I think 10 wins is doable if we have a great portal, mainly because Notre Dame, South Carolina, and Missouri are going to be worse, and LSU, Auburn, and Florida are big questions. South Carolina is tough for me to say they're going to be significantly worse when they get Lenora Sellers and a bunch of that defense back. They get some of the defense back. I'd have to look into them deeper. But I feel Lenora Sellers has, like, Heisman contending potential with how he finished the season. Games versus us. The game versus Missouri where he passed for like 350. The game-winning drive versus Clemson. I feel like they have like a Heisman contending quarterback at South Carolina right now. Missouri, you have an argument there. We have to go there. LSU, you have an argument there. Auburn and Florida are big questions. Auburn and Florida actually I think will be a lot tougher next year, but we get them at home, and those are, for us, winnable games at home. South Carolina will be better. Yeah, I think it's more likely they're better than worse. Because he's not in the Heisman convo next year, can we get to 10 wins without a Heisman-level quarterback? That'd be tough. I mean, what's Heisman contending? You mean like, oh, you can throw him in there and not be called an idiot, like he's top 15? I think if you get a top... Can he be a top 8 SEC quarterback next year? South Carolina losing most of their defense? 10-2? Guys, 10 wins is going to be really hard next year. I'm telling you right now. 10 wins is really, really hard next year. I think this team will improve and be really good, and I think 9 wins with next year's schedule can get you into the playoff. But 5 serious away games. I mean, Arkansas is Arkansas, but it's tough to win on the road for us. Ceiling is 7-5. That's ridiculous. Gridiron says if bigger teams start playing each other more often, 8-4 is going to be more common for good teams like in the NFL. Regardless, 9 regular season has to be the floor. I think you're right about this being more NFL-like, where any given team can kind of get you at any given day. I think we've seen that in the SEC. If A&M can get that Elko defense back like it was with Jimbo, y'all can win a lot of games just with defense, kind of how Texas did this year. I agree. Yeah, I don't know. I think expecting 9 would be pretty optimistic right now. It depends, though. If you go crazy in the portal, I think 9 could be kind of like what you want. It would have to be a really good portal class, which is on the table. It's just a tough schedule, guys. It's a tough schedule. Like I said, it's good you have 2 kind of ramp-up G5 schools to get into your schedule next year. You can kind of gauge your team and better, feel what you are at that point. Then you go to Notre Dame, the real litmus test. And I'm just curious to get a super early gauge before we get into the portal. Some 10 wins, some 9. A 7-5 is a ceiling, which is insane. I mean, a ceiling, you're kind of abusing the word ceiling there. I think you could say 7-5 is likely, but as a ceiling, no. I want to see how the portal turns out for us before making any record predictions, but I think we can get 9 with another year being in the system. It's a good way to put it. Let's get Jimbo for OC and reverse the roles. With that, we're calling it a night. We're getting to Jimbo OC talks. Jimbo's going to West Virginia. All right, guys. Y'all have a great night. Thanks for being here. Adios. Night, y'all. If y'all could drop a like on the way out, thank you. We only have 28.